Coming to you from sunny South Carolina, it's the Palmetto Conservative Show with your host, Jim Lee. From the upstate to the low country, from the coast to Columbia, we'll cover what's right and uncover what's wrong in the Palmetto State. If we see it, we say it. We call it like it is in South Carolina. And now, it's the Palmetto Conservative Show. Let's jam.
Welcome into the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the Conservative Broadcast Media Network. I'm your host, Jim Lee, part political junkie, part technology geek. Of late, I'm beginning to question those credentials. Part commentator and sometimes snarky agitator for the application of common sense and the pursuit of critical thinking in the marketplace of ideas, particularly as it relates to the Palmetto State. I don't profess to have all the answers, folks. Just an awful lot of relevant questions. And the questions just keep coming, piling on, as it were. Hope you're doing well here on this, the 13th episode of the Palmetto Conservative Show, since moving over here to the Spreaker platform. We'll see how things go after tonight's show and whether or not that remains where we're at. But anyway, usual and customary disclaimer here on the Palmetto Conservative Show. I'm not here to simply give a speech to display rancor, vituperation, or to engender bitterness. I'm not here to use incendiary language. I'm not here to incite violence or any other reactionary actions. But I am here to try and inflame your senses. I'm here to encourage you to employ something that we so desperately need more of in our political discourse, and that is critical thinking. We'll take on issues that talk about issues that, quite frankly, many would prefer to shy away from, and we'll take an approach that I believe benefits all, if you will at least consider, for the sake of argument, the positions held by those who have views different than your own, and at least entertain them for purposes of discussion, to think about them critically. Hope you'll be a part of the program this evening as we take on the cacistocracy. Now, for those of you that are new to the program, and for that matter, for those of you that are regulars here on the program, you'll recall that the cacistocracy is known as government by the worst persons, a form of government in which the worst persons are in power. And after after Monday's press conference and after today's announcement, I'm pretty well convinced that we have confirmed that we have a full-fledged cacistocracy in place in Washington, D.C. But that's where we're at. If you've not acquainted yourself with the notion of the cacistocracy, well, I encourage you to join us here as we take on the cacistocracy in so many, many different ways. So where do we begin? There is so much. Last week, again, I apologize for the failed attempt at a program last week. Had some technical difficulties. Quite frankly, I'm still not 100% sure whether the difficulties were on my end or on the Spreaker platform end. But be that as it may, it's immaterial at this point, and we will plow on ahead. And so it's Wednesday, January 16th. The first month of the year 2013 is halfway in the bag. Man, the time just keeps flying ever so faster, and it seems like no matter what I try and do, I can't put the brakes on it. And with ever-increasing speed and velocity, the hits just keep on coming. Unless you have found yourself living under a rock, or for that matter, living in Iraq these days, you may not be aware of all that's been going on in our nation's capital. When last we left you, we were emerging from the aftermath of the aversion of the fiscal cliff. And I say aversion because it was nothing more than an illusion that we actually averted anything. Now, there are some who hold a different view, and that's fine. Bottom line, I look at things pretty pragmatically, and at the end of the day, we secured continuing the tax rates as they were and as they have been since George W. Bush was in office, and did so for the overwhelming majority of the taxpayers, except for that 100% of taxpayers that were met with a tax increase anyway on January 1st as a result of both Congress and the President allowing the previous tax holiday to expire, the Social Security tax holiday. But, to those who actually believe the rhetoric pouring out of the White House, how no one under $250,000 would see their taxes go up, not income tax, not this tax, not that tax, nothing, nada, zip, zilch, found that their paychecks were a wee bit smaller after the first of the year. Yeah, I could say I told you so, and I am in fact saying I told you so. I'm just trying to do it in as least a smug way as possible. But to those who are willing to, not willing to suspend all disbelief, and who are listening with a careful ear, and who are processing what they're hearing and not just taking it on face value, you would have known, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that what happened with the fiscal cliff, what happened with the economic situation throughout 2011, which brought us the increased debt ceiling, and what followed with a continuing resolution and so many other things, was really no great surprise. I guess there is one thing I was rather surprised at, and that was how absolutely spineless the Republicans were in opposing the nonsense that was going on. The narrative coming out of the right and the establishment wing of the Republican Party, not to be confused with one another, was that, well, we just have to get beyond this particular situation, and we'll fight the next day. We've got to do this in order to be able to take the next battle. And what it amounted to was incremental capitulation, which left us, well, where we are. We have increased spending on every possible way, every possible level, and it is what it is. It's not going to change. Unless we change the people who are in Washington. Will that happen? Hey, we'll see. Already shaping up to go after 2014, which I think is the wrong strategy, personally. Yes, should we be preparing for 2014? Yes. Should we be looking to identify potential primary candidates for the 2014 elections? Yes. But matters are, right now, so significant, the consequences so severe, and the problems so large, we cannot continue to kick the can down the road. Or, as I heard Bill Bennett say on his talk show recently, I'm tired of kicking the can down the road. And tired of hearing about it. Let's do something about it, for Pete's sake. But, be that as it may, we are where we are. And if you're surprised if your paycheck was less, it's not quite what you expected, well, so be it. That's just the way it is. We have no choice but to try and get after our elected leaders, both Republican and Democrat, and try and persuade them through facts and critical thinking. And dare I say it, common sense. That we cannot continue to do what we've always done and expect different results, and that's where we are. But anyway, the cacostocracy is there. It's teed up. It's ready to go. Here we are. Another opportunity to get on the trail. No, I'm not talking about the westward trail. Lord knows going out west isn't going to solve anything. California's got so many problems. The only gold rush out there is long past, and in fact, the exodus is coming in the other direction. People are leaving California in droves. But no, it's to get on the trail that leads to turning this country back to some of the basic foundational principles and values that are necessary for a country, a nation such as ours, to be able to survive. It's probably well worn at this point, but I'll wear it out a little bit more. John Adams said that our Constitution was intended for a moral and religious people and wholly unsuited for any other. That was the premise upon which this country was founded. It wasn't written and intended for those who were interested in anarchy. It wasn't written and intended for those who were envisioning a monarchy. It wasn't written for those who were intending a big government solution to everything. It was written and intended for a people that were personally responsible for themselves, that believed that community and families and individuals were responsible for taking care of most everything, except for those few small things that the certain states determined that it made sense to delegate certain enumerated responsibilities to the federal government. Now, if you have designs on a different kind of country, if you would like to see America fundamentally changed, which our current president told us that's what he wanted, well, then you've got to go back to the foundation, and you've got to rewrite the Constitution. And there's a proper way to rewrite the Constitution, to amend the Constitution, that our incredibly intelligent forefathers thought of and actually included in the very Constitution that they wrote. But we, the people, have to get on the path to restore, to renew this country in order for it to survive. It cannot survive any other way. And we have a president that's trying to rewrite the Constitution from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And we'll be going through much of the latest evidence in that regard based on today's press conference. And if you had the opportunity to watch or just simply listen to, it was painful enough to listen to, but to watch it is instructive. The press conference on Monday with President Obama. I do not believe I have ever witnessed a display of unbridled arrogance and ignorance as I witnessed on Monday. We'll talk